This episode is part of a short series of interviews with young filmmakers who are making their mark on the film industry. Their ages may vary, as well as their roles and the journey that brought them to where they are. They can be an inspiration to all of us, and especially to an even younger generation of aspiring filmmakers coming behind them.
This is the Faith and Family Filmmakers Podcast, helping filmmakers who share a Christian worldview stay in touch, informed, and inspired. Quiet on set. Rolling. Today's host is Geoffrey Whitt.
Hey there, welcome to the Faith and Family Filmmakers Podcast. I'm Jeff, and I'm glad to be back with you today. Our guest is Daniel Morrison. Daniel is a composer, actor, and producer primarily, though he's done lots of other jobs in the industry. He loves Jesus, and he's passionate about creating stories that create emotion, tell the truth, and bless individuals. God has used stories and songs to bless and encourage him over the years, and he wants to create stories that bless others as he has been blessed. Welcome, Daniel.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to catch up. I first got to know you guys at Christian Worldview Festival, not this one past, but the year before. And you and your brothers, the Morrison brothers, you actually won some awards. Tell us what that was about.
So I believe that was, we won an award for our short film, I Heard the Bells. It was an animated project. It was kind of like our first big project we had done as a studio together. So yeah, it's a crazy story how that all kind of came about. It was actually a short story that my brother wrote kind of before we had really started doing films like intensely. But he had just written this short story, I think, during COVID. And at this point in time, we had messed around with like stop motion animation. That's what the film was stop motion animation. We had messed around with it growing up, but then we kind of all started pursuing different paths kind of professionally. And so I was doing wedding videography at the time. And my older brother had been hired by a production company and was doing professional video editing. And then Jonathan was actually still in high school. And so it was kind of the thing of like, he wrote this story like, hey, we used to do this as kids. What if we kind of came together and applied all of the technical stuff we've been learning about filmmaking over the last 4 years or whatever, and try to put that back into the stop motion and see what we can do, see what kind of story we can tell with the means we had our availability. So we did that, and it was a 3-year process. Stop motion animation is very time consuming. Jonathan basically worked on it full time for a year. It was really crazy how it all came together, came down to the wire. It was amazing.
And what was the award that you won?
I believe we won Best Animation at CWVFF. But the film's done really well. And, well, we won Best Animation and Best Film Score.
So you did the scoring, I think, right?
Yes, I wrote the film score, which I was really unexpected because, it was one of those things I felt God gives you little moments of encouragement, little blessings. And I was sitting there in the audience, and my good friend Aaron Fullen, he had like 4 films. He's a composer and actor as well.
Yes, he's been on our podcast.
He had like 4 films in there, and he's a very talented composer. And so like I was getting so ready just to cheer for him. And like, I didn't know which one it was going to be, but I was like, let's go, Aaron. And then it was I Heard the Bells, and I was just floored. So it was a pretty special moment.
Yeah, I remember you guys were pretty excited. Awesome. So let's just step back a little bit. You already touched on how the 3 of you came together. When did you actually start working on film score related things? How old are you now? Let's start there.
I'm 21 turning 22. So started film scoring. It's kind of a little different. So as kids, we had the film collection from like the San Antonio Christian Film Festival. That was like the one before like CWVFF, I think. And there were stop motion animations on there. And so we would watch those over and over and over again. And then we just started doing it. And then we also were inspired by Greg Toll. He had very good stop motion animations. And so we did it as kids. So I guess that's when like we started doing film. So we did that kind of in middle school, and then we kind of stopped doing it for a bit. And I was very into competitive livestock showing. So 4-H and animal raising and breeding and stuff. So I did that for most of high school. And then kind of towards the end of high school, I was kind of like, what am I going to do with my life? I don't know what I'm going to do. And my brother had worked at a wedding venue. And so I kind of had an easy in there. So I started working there, I think when I was 17 or 18. I had never held a camera before. I just started doing it. It was crazy, very high stress. Shooting weddings is very high stress, but I learned a lot. It's very much trying to just learn on the fly, on the go. And so that's how I started doing film. The music side of it, my family's super musical. My dad served in the United States Navy band for 23 years, so I've always grown up around music. But growing up, I always loved musical theater music, and it's one of those things where it's like there's not really a reason why, you just did. Growing up, I had this idea in my head of what music should sound like. When I took piano lessons, I was not a very good student because I found the music incredibly boring, and I was like, why does someone want to play ding 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 ding? I was like, there's no emotion, there's no feeling, there's no passion behind it. I was kind of on this quest to like find cool, good, emotional music, I guess. Growing up, I got exposed to different stuff, and one of that was Sight and Sound Theaters, and I was just very inspired by the music. So as soon as I got my hands on a keyboard and a laptop, I started MIDI programming, and I've been doing that ever since.
Cool. Now, I Heard the Bells was your first project, award-winning. That's pretty amazing for, well, you would have, most of you been teenagers at that time? Are you the middle child? Is that correct?
Yeah, of us three. So yeah.
Mhm.
So
Okay,
yeah, I think I was either 19 or 20.
cool. Well, not when you started it.
Yeah, not when we started it. Yeah.
Quite young, and it won awards. That's a
Mhm.
great way to start. Tell me about what you guys are doing now and or upcoming.
So basically, it's really cool to look back and see how God, we're storytellers and we're telling stories, but it's really cool to look back and see how God is telling our story, and he's telling everyone's story, and it's seemingly random. The more I learn about God, I just love to see how he loves to use the random non-spiritual things and turn them into spiritual milestones, I guess. And looking back, you can see that in the moment you can't, and that kind of gives me faith and helps me just to trust God in the moment by moment of like taking the next step, because you don't always know how it's going to turn out. But
Yeah.
so we had done I Heard the Bells. Growing up, we watched lots of old TV, 1940s war movies, all that stuff. We didn't actually watch a lot of like the more modern stuff just because that's the way my parents wanted to raise us. So we are big history buffs. So that's one of the reasons we did the World War II story. After that, we had the opportunity to do a live immersive World War II experience. We collaborated with our local theater company to put it on. It was called The Victory Swing. And it basically is an immersive show. So an audience comes and they see the story play out, but then they also get to interact with the characters and dance in like a 1940s ballroom in London during the Blitz when it was being bombed. So we did this event, but for the event, we were like, this is our shot. We've got live actors from the show. We've got a little bit of money, not a lot, and a lot of friends. And we're like, we're going to make a trailer and we're just going to like full send it, because it's like, why not? There's nothing to lose. And like, it is like kind of our dream project. We kind of pulled out all the stops and we shot this trailer for it.
I've seen it. It's really good.
So it was pretty crazy. And it was one of our first times really experiencing working with a team, because before that it had been just the three of us, but just seeing like how much you can do when you have other people working with you.
Oh, yeah.
And it was quite the learning experience in leadership and responsibility, which we learned a lot from. But we did that, and we created the trailer. And after the event was January last year, so we did the event. Then that's when we got connected to George Escobar, because we had known George a little bit kind of before he went to work for Focus on the Family, but he was back in the area. My brother showed him the trailer and he was like, this is really cool. We can turn this into a film. And so we started collaborating with him to write a script and just turn that into a project.
Awesome. And what stage is that in right now?
So we're still in the development stage. As I learn more about the film industry, it moves, it either moves really slow or really fast, I feel like. So yeah, we're still in the development, writing the script. We have the script out to get review from some individuals. And yeah, so it's still in the development stage, but still moving forward.
And it's really great that as young people, you can dedicate yourself with passion to making things move forward. And yes, in the film industry, things don't generally move fast.
Yeah.
But they do take that dedication and consistent effort to keep them moving forward. So
yeah,
that's cool. So I want to ask you some questions. In your bio, I read things about your desire and passion for creating stories that create emotion and tell the truth. Tell me what you think, as a young filmmaker, what is impactful storytelling?
So this is something I love talking about. Impactful storytelling. I like to say when the fiction of your story impacts the reality of your audience, truly meaningful storytelling takes place. And what I mean by that is when you take a step back and look at it, like filmmaking or theater, I do theater and filmmaking, it can get a little stupid, if you think about it. These are grown men in pretend costumes running around, pretending to be heroes, pretending to be in love, pretending to do yada, 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 pretending in some cases, like doing interesting stuff like you wouldn't do it every day, like stunts or whatever. It's like dangerous stuff. And it's like, what's the point? It's like the fiction, like, yes, it's entertaining, but
Yeah.
what's the point? But it is when the fiction of those characters pretending and telling those stories, when the truth of what they're pretending, when that impacts the people sitting in those seats in the audience, and that truth comes from the screen, from the stage, and into the hearts of those audience members, and it changes the way they see the world. It changes the way they see God, because they didn't just hear a sermon about what God should be. They didn't just hear someone saying, this is the way the world works. They experienced something. They saw something. They lived something. They went on that journey with that character, and that gave them a new perspective. That changed the way they are going to live their life when they walk out of that theater, when they walk out of that movie. It changed the way they see the world. When the fiction of your story impacts the reality of your audience, that's when storytelling becomes truly meaningful.
Great. That may be a quote that we take. I mean, we own that quote now. It's on our podcast. We've got the copyright.
Just talk to my licensing people first. I've got my team of lawyers.
So tell us about honesty and truth in storytelling.
Okay, this is another thing I love talking about, because I started out as doing film, as a wedding videographer, and then got into like narrative stuff. Alongside that, I started composing, and so I got into film scoring and songwriting. I'm mostly focusing more on songwriting now, musical theater style songwriting and stuff. But as a part of that, I've also started my acting journey, which has been just an incredible whirlwind and really crazy, and I've really enjoyed it. It's one of the things, growing up, I was kind of, acting was something I always thought was super cool, but it was like, you shouldn't be an actor, that's not the smart, wise thing to do. And it wasn't until after high school, actually, that I started acting when I could drive myself to rehearsals. And, I felt, I was kind of like, oh, I've missed so much time because I've always started late, and like, my future's gone. But it's been really cool just to see God just open up doors and just allow me to pursue this. And the crazy thing is, it's all connected. It's like storytelling is storytelling, whether you're writing film scores, whether you're editing, whether you're shooting, whether you're the actor on stage or in front of the camera, it's all the same. And for me, what it gets down to, truth and authenticity. Because what acting is, what storytelling is, it's recreating life. That's all it is. And as an audience, that's what we want to see. We want to see a story, a character is faced with a challenge, and then they have to overcome it. They learn something through it. We want to see what they have to go through. I think people can get very complicated, like, oh, all the technical stuff, and like, oh, you have to do this, how you deliver the line. It's like, no, tell the story with truth and how it needs to be told. And there's a vulnerability there, which God has been showing me and teaching me, of when you're acting, when you're telling a story, it can be very easy to go into, oh, this is the way other people tell the story. I'm going to copy them. I'm going to do it this way. And there's great stuff to be learned by copying others. But there's also, what I'm discovering is the importance and the power of stepping up and being, this is the way I see the world. This is the way I've experienced it. I can share this story with you because I have felt these same emotions. I've cried when I've lost a loved one. I've been frustrated when I don't understand what God's doing and I can't hear him. And I felt that emotion. And I'm not going to hide behind a shell of what I want you to see. I'm going to tell you it the way it is. And it was really cool. I had the opportunity to do some acting down in South Carolina. I got to play a New York gang member in the Crossing the Switchblade, which is a story of, I don't know if you're familiar, David Wilkerson going to the gangs in New York City. And I got to play this gang member. And it was such an amazing experience to get to play this character and then to experience how he feels trapped, and he's stuck in the gangs and he wants to get out, but he knows that people despise him and like there's no way out. Then to come to the place where he encounters Jesus and he just breaks down crying and just, we're not perfect. I didn't land it every time, but the nights when like I just felt the Holy Spirit there and just like was able just to share that, it was so cool. And you feel how it impacts the audience when you as an actor are willing to go there. That's the place I feel that kind of truth and vulnerability plays in storytelling and acting.
You've got a lot of different irons in the fire. What's upcoming for acting for you?
So there's another like I said, God writes your story. So I've just had the opportunity to audition for the Sight and Sound Conservatory. They're a biblical theater up in Lancaster and Branson. I had the opportunity to audition for them, and I have just been accepted. So I will be going up there to work with them and study acting for the next bit while still working with Morrison Brothers. But
Cool.
it is really crazy just to see how God brought that about. It's something, is like I grew up with their music. Their music is like the reason I started writing music and like being interested in storytelling. I remember that the first time I saw one of the shows, and I was like, wait, the music was telling a story, and it allowed me to feel what the character was feeling.
Yeah,
that's insane.
It has a purpose.
It had a purpose. I was like, that's insane. But growing up, it's like you believe a lot of lies growing up about yourself, and I feel like God has just been lately just untangling and like, no, you're seeing this wrong. You believe you're saying this about yourself, which isn't true. And for so long, I was like, oh, I didn't start acting until I was 19. There's no way I'd ever be good enough or be able to audition or get in up there or do anything. But God brought it around. And, I said no to it so many times. It was crazy just to go from last December. Like I just had conversations with people and like, I wanted to do it, but I thought there's absolutely no way I was good enough. And then it's like, I surrendered it. I gave it to him, but he's like, you say that, but it's like, we're imperfect. I picked it up and I fought about it and I complained about it, but God, he just started doing stuff in me and really working in me this desire to just tell stories that are meaningful and glorify him. And then it came up. I was like, what's the hurt in auditioning? I can't lose anything. I had missed the deadline by a week, but I had the number of one of the guys. So I texted him. I was like, hey, can I still audition? I had 2 weeks to audition while I was in rehearsals for another show. My voice was completely wrecked from being in the show. So I could hardly speak or sing, but God just worked it out. So many things fell into place. And then I did it and I had a ton of fun. And I got accepted. And so I'm just really excited to see what he has up there. It's going to be an adventure.
There's a lesson in there for everybody with regards to encouraging young people. You mentioned that you had examples of people telling you couldn't do it. I think you also talked about God writing your story.
Yeah.
I think that's a very significant thing for all of us to recognize the place that God has in writing our stories. And as characters, we get to respond. We do have free will, but he puts things in our path to encourage us or to direct us or to bring the outcome that he's looking for in our life, bring us where he wants us to go and to be. So we can be thankful that he's doing that, and we can choose to respond positively to the things that he brings into our life to create his will.
One other thing I just want to touch on that is he's writing our story, and he is the one who sanctifies us. He is the one who is building us up into the man, into the woman of God that he wants us to be. And when just looking back, even over the last few months, I did so many things which should have gummed up the works.
Yeah.
What I've been realizing is it's a lot more important to have faith in God than to have faith in your ability to have faith in God. Just the fact that I messed up in the middle of the process. I was doubting God and I was complaining, and there's so many reasons why it shouldn't have happened. You aren't blessed because you're a good Christian and you have the perfect faith and you do it all right. It's not about what you do. It's about what God does. And, that's a lesson I'm still learning. And I look forward to see how God continues to work that in me to where it becomes less and less about me and what I'm doing for him and more about what he's doing and joining him in that.
Great lessons there. This is the last of our short series with young filmmakers. It's really cool to hear from young people who are passionate about what they do. It can be such an inspiration for all of us. And so I thank you for that. Can you tell me where you would like to send people to find out more about you or to connect with you? Do you have some links that you'd like to give?
Yeah, if you go to morrisonbros.net, that is where you can find all of Morrison Bros stuff. If you want to follow me on social media, my Instagram is Daniel Morrison Media. And then I'm also on Spotify with a few soundtracks and songs and stuff.
Okay.
If you want to check those out, feel free. Daniel Morrison is where you'll find it.
And is there anywhere people can watch I Heard the Bells at this point?
Yeah, that is on our website as well. It's on YouTube, but you can get to it through the website.
morrisonbros.net.
Yep.
Ever watched an unsatisfying movie and wondered why it fell flat? The premise was great. The acting was pretty good. But the story itself left you feeling just meh. Don't let those stories be your stories. In my new book titled In the Beginning, Middle, and End, a screenwriter's observations of life, character, and God, I venture into developing and writing deep characters and satisfying storylines. But not only do I explain writing techniques in an entertaining way, sharing scenes from my own screenplays, but I parallel storytelling to life itself. Discover how to be the hero in your own hero's journey, how to engage with your author, and how to recognize when he's guiding the plot points of your life. In the beginning, middle, and end, a screenwriter's observations of life, character, and God by Jacqueline Whitt. Available now on Amazon. Link in the show notes.
Before we go, what would you like to leave with other young filmmakers or aspiring young filmmakers? We may have some listeners who are already in the thick of it like you, or we may have some who are just kind of exploring, finding the podcast, interested, don't know how to start.
Mm-hmm.
What would be some words of encouragement or final words that you'd like to share?
I think I would say, trust the process. Enjoy the process. Learn to love the process. And this is me preaching to myself, really. God has brought me a long way, but growing up, I hated the process. I absolutely hated the process. I wanted the end result.
Yeah.
When I was practicing piano, I didn't care about playing piano. I just wanted to play the cool song. But God has just been really showing me the process is where it's at. The process is the good part. And we hear stories. We love stories about heroes. And we have this hero, and then he goes into the valley, and then he struggles, and he fights, and then he comes out. But the struggle, the fight, that's where we're most engaged. That's where, what's going to happen?
That's where he becomes the hero.
That's where he becomes the hero. But in our life, we're all like, get me out of here. I just want to go to the end. I want the victory. I don't want to be here where the good stuff is happening.
Yeah.
And so I'm really just preaching to myself, but for everyone, enjoy the process. Get in there, find people who are better than you, become their friends, and learn as much as you can from them, spend as much time as you can with them, and just sit there and grow. Growing up, I was so invested in change. I wanted to change my circumstances. I wanted to be someone else. I wanted to do something else, but I hated growing. But growing is how the change happens. If you're growing, change is inevitable. If you're always seeking change, you're never taking time to grow, if that makes sense. And then, just let God do it. And this is something, again, I'm preaching to myself more than anything, is let God tell the story, chill out, let God do his thing, and you are enough. There are so many reasons why I should be a failure, why I should not be here. I struggled with school. I sucked at spelling. I still not great at spelling. And it's like growing up, it's like, I can't, so why I'm 18 and I can't even spell the symbol words on the whatever. It's like, my life is going to end. There's so many reasons, but God, and God is going to do it. And he's going to do it in a way that he gets the glory. And I'm just excited to continue in that journey and to enjoy it, Let the story happen. The results will come. The results will be whatever. But I want to be in there. I want to be enjoying the story. I just want to give it away. It's like, what do we think this life is about? It's not about what we can get. It's about what we can give. I think the more you grow, the more you just realize that's where it's at. It's like, what can I give to somebody else?
That's a really good perspective and really good advice. I really appreciate your sharing today. And we look forward to following your career.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Thanks for listening to the Faith and Family Filmmakers Podcast. If you've been enjoying this podcast, take a moment to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast player so you don't miss an episode. And if you'd like to support the production of this podcast, you can leave a tip at faffpodcast.com/support. Bringing filmmakers together for faith and family.